Happy post-Thanksgiving to all of my viewers who celebrate Thanksgiving. I did watch the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade like I usually do, although admittedly my dad and I just tend to put it on in the background for, you know, background noise while we get stuff ready for our family Thanksgiving, which is basically what we did on Thursday. So I saw the Luffy balloon. I'm glad it didn't get kind of popped this year, although that was very funny last year when it's like Luffy now has a bucket hat. So watched that. That was fun. Had a very nice family Thanksgiving with my dad's side of the family, which is a big, big, lots of cousins and aunts and uncles. So that was fun. And then yesterday was Black Friday, and we did go shopping at the mall, but they also have like a Starry Nights Christmas thing there where there's like different trees that have been decorated by local companies, and they raffle off the trees for the People's City Mission, or they bid the trees off. They sell them off. Auction. That's the word I'm looking for. Auction. Because like I'll get closer to the right word. Auction. They auction the trees off, and then the money from the sale of the trees and the other stuff that they have there gets donated to our city mission here in town for our homeless and all of that community to help them. And they do that every year, and we always go and buy some stuff and everything. And we bought like a pretty snowflake Christmas ornament that will be going up somewhere in our house this year. Don't know where yet. That'll be determined later today whenever I'm done with this. We will be decorating for Christmas, although I've already decorated up here, but we have to decorate the living room now, and the kitchen, and the entryway, and stuffed animals all the way up the stairs. So yeah, lots of fun there, and Brenda can help. She's just like, sure, I can help. I will also just stare at you and grandma like you're crazy with bringing all the weird stuff out of the garage. Yeah, that works too. So before I go into the chapter today, we do have a message from Oda that is part of this chapter. It's basically, he went to South Africa, and he's been seeing all of the different sets and everything like that they've been using for the live action, because that's, of course, South Africa is where they film it. Down in Cape Town, so he's been seeing all of the different the sets and the props and the costumes and everything else like that they've been using in regards for filming and everything. And he's also got to meet with some of the actors and actresses, some of the ones that he helped pick specifically, which is, I know at the very least, the girl that they have playing Vivi, who I recognized from Bridgerton, and there's some other ones in there that he helped with picking them and everything. And so he's getting to meet the cast, the new and the old cast. So he's he loved getting to do that and everything. And then of course he's like, and we're absolute, in regards to his, choices and stuff like that, he's like, and they're absolutely the perfect choices. So he's like, the vibe on set is just the best, which you can just tell from what we saw from the first season, and now, with some of the stuff that's coming out from season 2 in regards to, behind the scenes images and stuff like that of the different actors and actresses together, that the camaraderie on set seems to be really good, which is also a great thing to hear for this. A great thing to hear about this, because that's kind of the vibe you want when it comes to One Piece. So they're all doing really well, and he's Oda's and trust me, this is going to surpass season 1. Stay tuned for season 2. And I'm like, okay, Oda, I hope you're right. I would like it if it surpassed season 1. I enjoyed season 1. With a few bits here and there, but I enjoyed season 1 overall. So, time for the chapter. Okay, so this is chapter 1131, titled Adventure in Elbath. We get a rainbow bridge. We get a rainbow bridge. And we start off the chapter with, of course, the Yamato's cover story with the Holy Inari Shrine pilgrimage. And we see that Yamato, Tama, Speed, and Komichio have made their way to the old prison mine the Udon Castle being rebuilt at the old prison mine is what it says. So this is the Udon prison. This is where, of course, Luffy and Kid were. This is where they met Hirogoro. This is where Kawamatsu had been chained up and everything for like 8 years or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but like a good chunk of time. Is where they were all, where they were and everything, and were like, Queen and Big Mom kind of fought and everything like that. So this is Udon Prison. Now, the last time we saw Udon Prison was when Aramaki showed up, and he had attacked King and Queen and the bunch of the prisoners and the guards that were there. Doban and Babanuki and a bunch of the other ones. He attacked them and drained them dry, possibly killed some of them, but that might get revealed a little bit in this part of the cover story. When I did my video about like what Yamato was going to do on his cover story, I did make a comment about like him going to Udon Prison. I wasn't necessarily expecting it going to be him being led there by the person who is stealing things, but whatever. You get what you get, and now they're here. So we don't see who the thief is, but they seem to have arrived here. And in my video about it, I had said, like, I would like to hope that, like, Yamato goes and talks to, like, at the very least, King. King seems like them and Yamato, like, he and Yamato would have got along better than Yamato would with Queen. Because, like, well, King can be very ruthless. Queen just likes to experiment on people the same way that Caesar does. And I just had a whole conversation with my mom last night about Caesar and how he treated the children and the gas poison and everything else like that. So, not a Caesar fan, obviously. Not a Queen fan either. Although Queen definitely has more style than Caesar, but that's not saying much. So we'll see what happens when they get here. It looks to be that they are currently, like the way that the Curry Castle is being rebuilt, this castle is being rebuilt as well. And as we go through, we'll probably see, well, we didn't see anything being rebuilt necessarily in the Kibi region. But we'll see if it ends up showing something later that, like, maybe they just weren't quite there yet. Maybe that castle hadn't been destroyed yet, so it doesn't need to be rebuilt. But this is rebuilding the Udon Castle, which, while they are in the prisoner mine, it might be something where they are going to rebuild it and then possibly shut down the mine or something. I don't know. We do know that there were a lot of the beast pirates trapped here, imprisoned here, who were not under Tama's control, and depending on, it's been over a month, so any of the original ones who got put under Tama's control because of her Kibidongos, they should be released by now, the way that, like, Speed is probably, like, released from, Speed is probably free by now, and has just chosen to stay with Tama and protect Tama, which I really like that idea. So we'll see what happens with this. Going into the chapter. So, we start off the chapter on the outskirts of Elbath. We see the the Elbath little bar that's at the port. That's the tavern where Shanks and his crew were when we saw them at Elbath. And we see the Great Eric is making its way, seems to be sailing by there. And we see the little kid, who we get a name. His name is Colin. He's Colin. He's there. And I read the name and I'm like, thing popped into my brain because not only do I have Disney brain, I have Harry Potter brain, was Colin Creevey. From the second movie and the second book and everything. I mean, like, he's there more, but those are the two where he's the most prominent. So, I don't know. I hope he's not going to be as annoying as Colin, but I don't know. We'll find out. But, we see him and he's yelling out at the Great Eric to find out if they are going to stop at the bar for a drink. And Broggy says, Broggy is like, no, we're not going to go. And they're like, we're going to head straight up to, the second realm, the second level, because we'll get names for all the rest of the levels here. So they're in technically the bar and the port are in the underworld level because they're on the bottom. But I would assume that there's like a difference here in the fact that like they're in like a safer area because they have to have like something there at a port for when they have people show up, in regard to like here where the giant warrior pirates are showing up escorting the Straw Hats, and then like they might have some other ones stationed around the outside of Elbath, and like those may have been where the sheep's house was, where it's like Harald may have allowed allowed Carmel to build it, but it's just like you're going to be on the lower area as opposed to like the upper, the middle or the upper area. And I will start referring to them with the correct names once we get the correct names later in this chapter. So we see the little boy runs back into the bar and tells the barmaid, don't get a name on her yet, but Giant Machina, if you want to call her that. And he tells her that the giant warrior pirates are just going to head straight up, and they're going to head up straight away. And she's like, oh, is that so? Well, if they've got guests, that's probably for the best. Once they start drinking, they could be here for 3 days straight. Which is like, yeah, that may have been what happened with Shanks when they got there. And however that ended up. I still want to find out how Shanks and Dorian Broggy kind of got introduced to each other. With like Oimo and Kashi and everything. Like, I want to find out how that happened, because like they seem to get along very well with Shanks. So I hope we get like a slight flashback where we see them all interact for the first time, unless somehow they know, like, they met Shanks met them at some other point in time. Maybe. I don't know. But the barkeep's like, if you're heading up to the Sun Realm, take this basket with you. Ripley's favorites are in there. I packed some for your father too. And Colin's like, wow, thanks. So that pirate that Dorian Broggy went to fetch, he just became one of the 4 emperors. The boss told me about him. So this is, of course, like, this is the same kid that had been, fawning over Shanks and wanting to join the crew and everything. And we have this little bit where the kid has a flashback of Shanks that'll probably get slightly expanded upon in the anime. That is just like, Straw Hat Luffy, remember that name. Now, whether that's from this most recent time just before they left, or from, like, just recently when, like, Luffy ended up in the paper as the new Yonko, probably. So there's that. And he's like, okay, I'm off. And he's heading off, which is just funny. And then the barmaid is just like, hey, kid, let the captains know that I'll be by later with drinking snacks for the banquet. And he's like, got it. I love that he has, like, the picnic basket tied to a stick as he's, like, skipping off, which is just adorable. So then we cut to Dorian Broggy, or no, we don't cut to Dorian Broggy, we cut to Stanton and Hyrudine, and then it's like, look, the Great Eric! So they're sailing, and they're on like this smaller ship that has the moose, the dinosaur moose on it. I still love the Strong World animals, I love that, that's great. And it's just like, talk about a good fortune, we're just in time for a rainbow! Yeah, it's like, let's catch a ride. I'm like, this place sounds like the leprechauns, like the leprechaun's dream from Lucky Charms. Sounds like his dream with like, ooh, a rainbow that we can ride somewhere. And then we cut to where we have the Great Eric arriving at the rainbow, and I'm assuming it is the Straw Hats plus Bonnie and probably Lilith that are just like, a rainbow? It's a gorgeous one too. And it's just like, I wonder if it's raining on the other side. And like we see because when we got some of the first big panels of Elbath, we saw the rainbow. And we saw one of the rainbows, and now we're seeing, like, I don't know if this is another one or if this is the same one, but we're seeing it more up close. And we're also seeing that it's maybe comes out from, like, near where that sword is, but I can't tell. necessarily, and of course, perspective of things, and this island is freaking huge. And we see the Great Eric arriving at the rainbow, and then we also see the little ship that has Stanton and Hyrudine on it making its way over. And the Straw Hats and all of them are just like, oh my god. And Brooke is like, this is the first time I've been so close to a rainbow. And Bonnie is like, it's so clear. And she's just like big-eyed, which I love how like Bonnie is embracing getting to be a little inner child now, being her actual self now, her child self now, because she has her father back. Kuma is at the very least safe. She knows what happened. She knows Vegapunk didn't betray her father. She knows all of this stuff. And Bonnie is now just getting to be a kid, and being around the Straw Hats is allowing her to do that because she knows that they're strong enough to protect her. Plus, she's gone through all of her own stuff with learning how to work her, how to use her devil fruit more effectively to be able to help her turn into, like, the Nika form. The same way that Luffy is. She might need some more practicing with it, obviously. She also was, like, 12 and has less stamina than Luffy, but, given the circumstances, she's done great. And so we're just, like, seeing all the Straw Hats are just, like, and Lilith and stuff are just like, oh my god. And Jinbei's like, are you supposed to be able to see rainbows from this angle? I was like, that's a decent question, Jinbei. And Lilith is like, its mystique and beauty would be evident from any angle. And then Bragi comes over, and he's holding this, it's a little square, clear stone is what it looks like. And he's like, it's really nothing out of the ordinary. You can draw them out with a sunstone painter. And Jinbei's like, draw? Are you saying that someone made that rainbow? And they're like, well, of course. So the object that Bragi is holding it's supposed to be like a sunstone. So they call it a sunstone painter. And I know that for like Norse sailors and such like that, for the Vikings and other sailors that were in that area, there were certain types of stones that you could like dig up and like polish and make them work well, and they would work to help with like being a compass. Don't ask me the exact parameters of it. I don't know. I've seen them before, and I've seen them used in some stuff before, but I don't know the exact... I've had it explained to me once, but that was a long time ago, and I guess it just didn't, like, click into my head. But it's like, these seem to be the same things that, like, Hyrudine and stuff were referring to in the previous chapter, where they were getting the moose, which is just funny. And I like that they're just talking about, like, yeah, it's a rainbow. Of course you can make one. And they're just like, okay. And I'm just like, I'm sitting here like, so is this like the equivalent of like when you're in your backyard or your front yard watering plants, and then you like take the hose and you like just make it spray, and it makes it like an instant rainbow depending on how you catch it with the sun? Like, is it supposed to be something as simple as that? I would not trust that type of a rainbow to then form and be able to help carry a giant ship, but this is giant technology that is probably related to Void Century stuff that we don't understand yet, and that Frankie and Lilith and Usopp are just going to be completely fascinated by, in regards to wanting to study it. So there's that. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. It will be interesting to see how Oda intends to try to explain this beyond just, oh, it's Ancient Kingdom Void Century technology that the Giants are the only ones that have it anymore, because they didn't lose it during the war. They kept it. And to them, it's just completely normal to be able to have these rainbow bridges that pop up. And of course, rainbow bridges, obviously there's like generally the more the term now is more like generally referenced to like the rainbow bridge for like how pets go to heaven and stuff like that you cross over the rainbow bridge, or your pets have crossed over the rainbow bridge, and eventually you'll see them again, or they'll be waiting for you, which I hope is correct, in regards to Rainy and Bear and eventually her, but that hopefully is a long time down the line. But then the other part of this that the Rainbow Bridge is referencing is the Bifrost in Norse mythology and in Marvel Comics. And the Bifrost in Norse mythology was, yes, it was used to help like get from one realm to the next on the world tree, from like one level to the next and stuff like that. And then in Norse mythology and Marvel Comics, the Bifrost is basically like the instant transportation system that the Asgardians have, where in the first 3 Thor movies, it is used by Odin and Heimdall to be able to transport Thor around. And then by Thor, not Thor Ragnarok, but by Thor, or by Infinity War and Endgame, Thor now has Stormbreaker, his axe that he is, the axe that allows him to personally control the Bifrost and can activate it at will to help him get from one place to the next very, very quickly. Used to be controlled by Heimdall. Then Heimdall died, unfortunately, in Infinity War. And then Thor is then able to now control it. And I believe like the Valkyrie and the new Asgardians are able to control it as well in certain situations, but I don't know the exact setup for that. But like they have that ability to like activate it as well, or to help with it. So it's used as like a mass transit system, basically. So that's kind of what they're doing here, is they're using it as like a Rainbow Bridge road, which is just funny. So there's that. So one of the giants who's, I think the one that's like the one steering the ship, the helmsman at the moment, he's like, "You ready, bosses? We're almost at the base of the mountain." And they're like, "Okay, grab on tight. We're about to go vertical." And all the Straw Hats are just, all the humans are just like, "Wait, what do you mean vertical?" It's like, huh? And then ship up the Rainbow Bridge, and everybody is just like, "Nope," and just like starts falling. And Robin grabs Bonnie to protect her, and I think Jinbei goes to help protect Robin and Bonnie, to help them to make sure that they don't get hurt. And all the Straw Hats are just like, "Nope." They fall over, which is just funny. And they're like, "Oh, what is this? We're going up." And they're like, and the giants are like, we forgot to explain. The village is at the top of this tree. That's why we're hitching a direct ride on this rainbow. We're holding off on partying till we get there." And then Frankie is just like, "You're explaining the wrong bit. How is riding a rainbow even possible?" And Robin, and I can't tell if it's Robin or if it's Bonnie, but it's all like, "What's the ship sailing on?" And Robin is just like, "A rainbow is nothing more than a refraction of light through water droplets." And Dorian Broggy is just like, "Blah, blah, 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 blah. What are you talking about? Rainbows are meant to be crossed." Oh, I love Dorian Broggy. And I was just like, and the others are just like, "Are you for real?" And we get like a nice double page spread here, which shows the Great Eric is now sailing up the rainbow. It's getting a little bit more leveled off, and we see another ship coming up behind them, which we'll get to in a second. And like the Straw Hats, and I think it's Bonnie, is just like, "We're really riding it," because she's just like, "Oh my god, this would just be amazing no matter your age." Brooke is 90, and he's like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." I love that. I love that it's just like all the stuff that the Straw Hats have seen and all the stuff that Robin has like read about. This would just be just one of those experiences where you're just like, "Oh my god," if this was happening. So I love this. And the Broggy is explaining, the tailwind is perfect for rainbow. This tailwind is perfect for rainbow sailing, and rainbow currents don't give any resistance. So even the lightest of rowing will carry you all the way. And Jinbei is just like, Luffy and the others are going to go nuts when they see this. And Brooke's like, "I think I've already Gone nuts myself. Yo, yeah. And Frankie is just like, ditto. He's like, this is just awesome. And we see Robin and Bonnie are like looking over the side of the ship down at the rainbow as they're sailing on it, which, like, duh. Why wouldn't you? That would be amazing. Okay, so this is actually there is, I'm gonna pull a Disney reference at it. Yeah, there is the scene in the first Fantasia movie. I think it's during the Pastoral Symphony, which is where it's like the Greek mythology thing where like Zeus is there and Dionysus is there, and there's like all of the centaurs running around, and they have like the Pegasus is there. There's like the Pegasus family, and they have like all the little kid Pegasi, and they end up like playing on the rainbow. So it's just like that's kind of like what this is making me think of right now. It's that moment. And so it's like Robin and Bonnie are like looking down at the rainbow, and Bonnie's like, amazing, it's a 7-colored sea. That sparkling sparkling or tinkling sound is so cute. And Robin's like, the world is never ending chain of wonders. And I don't know if it's Brooke singing in the background, but there is like one of the lines of "We'll deliver Binks sake." So it's like someone is singing Binks sake, and I don't know if it's Brooke or if it's someone else. It doesn't say, but that line is brought up. So that's, you know, I don't know if there's a line in Binks sake about a rainbow, but if there is, someone else is going to mention it, and I probably missed it, but I still kind of mentioned it here. And they look over, and they finally see the other ship that's there. And they're like, they realize that it's Hyrule and Stanson. And they're shouting over at the Great Eric, and they're like, hey, captains, do you have Straw Hat with you? And they're like, if it isn't Hyrule and Stanson, I was wondering whose ship that was. And Frankie's just like, you know, doing his pose of, oh, long time no see. And they're like, and technically Stanton has met Frankie. He was at the auction house, but I don't know if he like got fully introduced to Frankie. But of course, Hyrule has met Frankie. He's helped fight alongside Frankie during Dressrosa and met him at the party and everything. And of course, they've also met Robin, as well as Hyrule has met Robin for the same reasons. And they're like, cyborg! So they're happy to see Frankie. Because neither Brooke nor Jinbei have met them. Because Brooke and Jinbei were not at Dressrosa. Brooke was technically at Dressrosa, but then they left before all of everything happened. Because they got chased away by Big Mom. So there's that. From there, we have Hyrule is just like, so Straw Hat and the others are gonna catch up later, and it's just like, we hunted down a moose for him, and they're like, whoa, those are delicious, I want a bite. And they're like, Hyrule is like, you guys can have some of their leftovers, we got it especially for the Straw Hats. And I'm pretty, it's like Dory O'Brien is just like, fine, have it your way. So they're laughing. We cut back into kind of the interior of Elbath, and we cut back to the rope bridge between the realm of the dead and the realm of the sun. So the realm of the underworld, or the lower part of it, where all the mountains are and everything else like that, where Loki is chained up, that is the underworld part. And then the middle part, the middle set of branches, that is the realm of the sun. And we'll find out the last name for the last set of the realm, the top realm, in a little bit. But we see Goldberg and Gerd are running down the bridge, chasing after Road, who's in turn chasing after the Straw Hats, and Goldberg still has the sunny over his head, which I love. And Luffy shows up, he jumps up, and he's jumped up from the underworld realm, and he's like, the sunny, hey, that's our ship! And both Gerd and Goldberg look up and they see Luffy. And Luffy lands and Gerd catches him, so he's sitting in her hand. And she's like, oh, you're Luffy-kun, right? And she's singing, oh, so cute. And she's like, I love you, tiny humans. Oh, but don't take it the way don't take it the wrong way. I'm not like him. So she's like, I'm not like Rode. I'm not like the creepy version of it where I want to lock you up in a room. And she's like, don't just go lumping me in with that creep Rodo. Okay? I don't go around trapping humans in cages. I just want to be friends. Now, I love that this is clearly the callback to the fact that Gerd grew up with Big Mom. Or at least for a little while, they were friends before the Semla incident happened. Gerd and Big Mom had been friends. And Gerd had probably been friends with a lot of the other children that were at the sheep's house while Mother Carmel was there. So Gerd is one of the ones who has had a decent amount of exposure to humans. Also, they did kind of, the new Giant Warrior Pirates did technically work with the Buggy's delivery service, so maybe they interacted with some of, like, Buggy and some of his crew a bit. So maybe she, made some friends there. That might be a fun thing to find out about later. But, like, Gerd is just, like, really happy about this because, like, she really likes humans in, like, the nice way of, like, she's, like, fascinated by them, I think, but not in the creepy way that, like, Rode is. Which is an understandable thing to be, like, very interested in humans because, like, they're giants and they don't, interact with a lot of humans most of the time. And, like, she's heard about Luffy, probably, like, Stanton told them about, like, what happened at the auction house. And then, of course, Hyrudine definitely told them a bunch of stuff about what happened at Dressrosa. So there's that. So Gerd's explaining herself. And Goldberg is just like, Gerd, this isn't the time. She's like, oops, sorry. And, of course, we get, like, a size comparison between Gerd and Luffy. Which might give us a bit of a size comparison for how big, like, Goldberg is compared to the ship. Because, like, we know the Sunny... I don't remember what the exact measurements of the Sunny are, but, like, we've seen, like, the Sunny compared to, like, how big Luffy and the others are for, like, them all hanging out on the deck of the Sunny. And then, like, Goldberg is just carrying it above his head, which I love for that. And Gerd is like, we get like Gerd lifting Luffy closer to him, and she's like, still, it's awful how he didn't give any of you a choice when he put you in there. Believe me, I wasn't associated at all with that. I wouldn't associate at all with that freak if I had a choice. We're so sorry about all this. And he's like, oh, you're talking about the skull-faced guy, is what Luffy's asking. And Goldberg is just like, say, just now, you came from the realm of the dead, right? Or the underworld. But what were you doing down there? Did you fall? And Luffy's like, and it's just like, Luffy attempting to, like, how can I explain this without lying? Because Luffy, I guess, made a deal with Loki, which is just, don't make deals with the dude chained to the tree. I love you, Luffy, but don't do that. And Loki is just like, remember, our deal is a secret, so don't say a word about our meeting. Got it, Luffy? So, Luffy apparently, he just looks like really panicked, and they're just, sorry, he's like trying to say something, and like, sorry, it was like, you're awfully sweaty even though it's freezing out here. It's just like, anyway, I'm just glad you're okay. So they just like assume that like maybe Luffy had like a horrible experience down there. He found one of the mass human giant graveyards or whatever, or maybe that's what happened. That's what they're trying to figure out. They don't know that he actually, talked to Loki and everything. So... from there, we have, we cut to where they've gotten to the second level, so this is now where, like, Nami and her group are, with Rode chasing after them. And he's like, there you are, it's time to come home, my precious live dolls, or little dolls, whatever he wants to call them. And Nami and Chopper, I think, are acting as bait to, like, lure him in. And we have Rode just being creepy and jumping at them, and he's just like, now let's get you locked up again before the others catch on. Nami Tasso, Cho Tasso, and you two will be mine for life. And tree. And tree. I love this. And the tree just lands on him. And the thing that popped into my head with this was in Star Wars where they have the Ewoks fighting against the Stormtroopers. It's just like they use the trees to like destroy the Stormtroopers. equipment, which is just funny, and tree just lands right on Road, which is just great. And Nami's like, seriously, even animals don't fall for bait that obvious. And it shows Zoro's probably the one that just sliced the tree and made it land on him because it's just such a clean cut. And Usopp's like, Zoro, Sanji, you guys always overdo it. So it's like, I can't tell if what happened was like they chopped down the tree and Sanji made sure that it landed on him because like Sanji's on the other side of the tree, like on the top of the tree, so Zoro cut it and Sanji made sure it fell on him. And they're like, they're like, you didn't even lift a finger. And it's just like, Sanji's like, all right, let's go check out that land of the giants already. And they're just like, okay, let's go. And Road is just stuck into the tree and it's like, you damned puny humans. And Goldberg and Gerd are showing up and they're like, he's here. And so are the other Straw Hats. And Road is just like, that voice, it's Gerd Tasso. So he even refers to Gerd with the Tasso, or like the ultra rare. It's like what it kept being translated to for the English. For the official English was like ultra rare stuff. And he's like, she must be here to save me. No, she's not here to save you at all. I love Gerd and Goldberg go into like a similar pose to like the Hako or the Elbra sovereignty one that Dory and Bragi go into. It's like very similar, and they're just like whacking him upside the head with like Gerd with her giant axe, and Goldberg with his giant mace. His giant club, excuse me. It's not quite a Kanabo, but like a giant club, spiked club. And it's just like, yeah, right, Rodo, you're freaking weirdo. And they just like whack him and he's just like, ah! So I'd say Road's down for a while. That works. Road's down for a little while. That'll work. And Sanji is just like, oh, the Lady Giant. And Zoro is just like, I guess it doesn't matter if we overdid it a bit. Did it now. And they're just like, and they look up and they see Luffy and he's like, hey guys. So he's all happy to be reunited with them. And he's like, they brought the Sunny too. Is like what Luffy's like. And we cut to a more wider shot and Gerd is like bending down to like introduce herself to the Straw Hats, and like Luffy's jumping down to get to them. We see Road off to the side with like the giant freaking lump on his head, which is like, that works. And Goldberg's just off to the side, just kind of smiling at him, which is cute. Gerd must be more of like the diplomat among the group, which is cute. And it's just like, they brought the Sunny too. And then it's like, greetings, Straw Hat crew. My name is Gerd and this is Goldberg. We're Hyrudian subordinates. I don't know if it's her or Goldberg that says that, but I think it's Goldberg. And it's like, sorry you had to see our ugly side just now. We'll guide you properly from here on out. And Sanji's just like, Gerd-san, will you be my guiding star? Oh, God, Sanji, just tone it down a bit. And Zoro's just like, do you have any idea what we just went through? And they're like, we'll make it up to you. Zoro or Usopp? I can't tell. I think it's Zoro that says it. And then Luffy is just like, let's go, Usopp. Their village is on this level. And Usopp is just like, yay! And so Chopper is just like, I'm so ready for this. And they start just running off, because of course they do. And Gerd is just like, just head straight out of the forest from here and you'll see some clouds. Take a ride on them and you'll be at the village. It's just like just common knowledge type of a thing. Now, this just basically takes care of, like, we saw what would have, it was like, this is basically what would have happened if they had run into Luffy and such's group on the bridge. If they hadn't hid and they just ran into them on the bridge. This is basically what would have happened. Road probably still would have gotten beat up. Whether or not he would have still been hit with a tree is left up for debate. But now he's been electrocuted, hit with a tree, and then hit by Gerd and Goldberg. So that just makes it even funnier. Just adds to his torment, which I'm good for. And kind of what, this is basically what would have happened. It's just like Gerd and Goldberg explain that they're part of Hyrudine's crew. They, are being nice and polite to the Straw Hats. They understand that the Straw Hats were not brought here, that they were not trying to sneak into Elbath. They were technically brought to this part against their will by Road and his bird, his crow. Hopefully they take care of the other humans at some point in time. But, it's like they know that the Straw Hats were not trying to sneak into the island. Plus, the rest of the crew are with Dory and Bragi and are basically being welcomed to the island as, honored guests, basically, from everything that it sounds like. So that's helpful. And Gerd's like, we'll be right behind you. And she's picked up Sanji and Nami and Zoro, picked them up. And Sanji is just so happy. And I think Nami is just kind of humming along a song. I don't know. And Usopp and Sanji and Chopper are just bouncing on the clouds. And it's just wow, island clouds, you're sure if you're wrong, we'll fall? And it's just she said we could ride them. I love this. And so Luffy is just as he's kind of getting to see some of, the village. And we cut back to the Rainbow Bridge where the Giant Warrior's pirate ship is, where the Great Eric is, and where Hyrudine's little ship is. This is not Hyrudine's actual ship. This is just one of, I'm assuming one of their smaller vessels for, hauling up, the moose and stuff like that, for hauling up supplies and stuff like that, because the ship is much too small for 5 giants to comfortably live on. And they're it's you'll be able to see it as soon as we clear these clouds, be able to see the village. And this is where we get the naming explanation. And Bragi is just Elbath has 3 levels, going from top to bottom. There is the realm of the god, or the realms of heaven, the sun, and the dead. So it's the realm of the gods, so Asgard probably. The realm of the sun, which is just, I don't know if there's a specific name. I know that Midgard is Earth, if I remember correctly, but I don't remember all the rest of them off the top of my head for the different Norse realms in Norse mythology. And then the dead, or the underworld, which, take your pick. Pick your description of the underworld. Is it the underworld ruled by Hela? Is it the underworld ruled by Hades? Is it the underworld ruled by Satan? Is it some other underworld? Take your pick. And Dory is just we live where it shines, the realm of the sun. On that floor, there are many villages. So this is where we're getting the explanation that there were lots of villages in this area of Elbath, in the realm of the sun. So I would assume it's mostly just ports around the bottom for the realm of the dead, or for the underworld area. And then they have all of that wild area with the mountains and the jungles, or the forests and everything else there, where Loki and the animals are. And then they have the next level for the realm of the sun. And they're it's so vast, the landscape stretches out as far as the eye can see, and it's our village, and that's our village there. And Robin's just wow. And we cut and we see this big, beautiful, giant village that looks very similar to, A, it looks similar to the village that we saw in Big Mom's flashback. B, it looks very similar to the village that Road built, because we also see this castle in the background that looked very similar to the Big Stein castle that was in Road's diorama set. So Road probably just built the village and the diorama set based on this stuff, and then went from there. To be fair, he has good building techniques in regards to building the houses and the castle and everything else like that. Still a horrible person for what he did, but building techniques. And they're welcome to Elbath. And there is a quote that makes its way through the rest of this chapter, and I'll get to the quote in a little bit. But I wanted to finish the chapter first, and then I'll get to the quote. So, because it kind of goes over several of the last pages. So we cut to where we see it's Luffy and Usopp, and like Luffy's eyes are just like so big from just like how amazing this place looks, and of course Usopp is crying, which is perfectly understandable because they've been waiting for so long to be able to get here, and we have the audience have been waiting for so long to be able to get here as well, and they're just like, and it's Usopp's I think it's Usopp is saying it's the flashback to like when they're on this on the Mary, when they're first leaving Elbaf, or they're first leaving Little Garden after they've talked to Dorian Brogdon. It's just like, you guys, someday I swear I'm going to Elbaf, to the village of warriors. All right, Usopp, let's do it. So it's like they're just so happy. And we cut to where we see the reactions from all the rest of the Straw Hats, because like they're all kind of, they're all getting to see this beautiful village at the same time, with like where the ship is coming in and where Luffy and his group are coming in from. And it's just, they're all just like wide-eyed, or Usopp's got, or Chopper has like the starry eyes, and like they're all just like, even Zoro is like kind of amazed at it, which I love. And Bonnie is just looking at this with like the innocence of a child and everything. And like Robin's probably read about Elbaf a bit, and now she's just like seeing this, and that's awesome. And we're getting part of the quote that's going over this, but as I said, I'll get to the quote in a little bit. But now we have it that the two groups are being reunited, and Luffy and Usopp are seeing the bridge, the rainbow bridge that the other group is on, that Frankie and his group are on, the Robin's group are on. And they're like, oh, Straw Hat. And Frankie's like, Luffy, we've been looking everywhere for you. And it's like, Luffy and Usopp are like, did you guys just get here? Glad you made it. Everything worked out in the end. Yes, it did. And Usopp, Luffy, and Chopper are just having like the sugar reaction face to seeing the rainbow bridge, and it's just like, Elbaf is the greatest. They're just like, are you riding on a rainbow? I love that. That's just so funny. And then last bit of the chapter, as I said, we'll get to the quote in a second, but we're getting all these beautiful shots of like what Elbaf looks like, and we cut into what is, I think, more of an interior section of like the Sunreal, because this looks more like a little more tropical of an area as opposed to like the underworld area that looked very bleak. This looks like there's a lot more like color and tropical type plants and everything, and we see like a bear sitting here. And Usopp, like we hear Luffy and them shouting over, like, give us a go next, in regards to like riding on the rainbow, which is very fair. So now I'm going to get to the quote that we have here, and the quote is let's hope I have the quote correct all here in regards to stuff. I saw a couple of translations, so I went with the one that kind of seemed to flow the best. Great size brings about sensation. No words would do this view justice. This is the kingdom of Warland on Elbaf Island. It is the kingdom of giants that is commonly referred to as collectively Elbaf. From the grasses to trees, vines to flowers and the insects, fishes and birds, including all the animals, one can only gasp at the sheer size of everything. Fellow explorers, the time you spent here will not be fruitless. However, if I am to record only one thing about the mysterious land of Elbaf, the place where everything is huge, I wish for you to remember my words somewhere in the back of your mind. Do not prolong your stay in this land for too long. Explorer Louis Arnault, Bragman. So, we've had a couple of these quotes. These are the quotes that are, of course, from the book Bragman, that gets referenced by Nami when they first find Little Garden. And it, so it's like referenced there, and I think we see a copy of it at Ohara as well, when all of the books are being burned, or we see it on the shelf. So like as we are getting this quote over like the last several pages, we are seeing like all these different beautiful shots and everything like that of Elbath, and like this is being quoted as like the Straw Hats are just like seeing this, seeing what is spread out before them. So it's just great for what we're seeing here, for just how the scale of this, and like even the quote is like, do not prolong your stay here, do not linger here long. So that's quite amazing. I love that they're, because like, yes, I love the fact that for One Piece there is that, like, Oda's like, well, yeah, of course there would be other worlds, or not other worlds, but there would be other authors in the One Piece world who have like traveled to a bunch of these different islands at various points in time, not pirates, adventurers, but not pirates. And then like they write, that was Louis Arnott, and he wrote this book. And now we've had it referenced at Little Garden, where of course we first meet Dorian Broggy, and then now we're having it referenced on Elbath, where like, yeah, this is, like it's been said already in the chapters. So it's like the scale here is just mind-boggling for how big everything is. For just how big all of this island is, and how big everything is compared to the Straw Hats and their, the rest of the people with them and everything, for all the normal sized people. And it's just wow for how big it is, which is just awesome. So, I believe that's all we have. There is supposed to be a new chapter next week, so we'll see about that. I don't know. There's a possibility I'll be starting a new job, so that might affect how quickly I get the chapters up. It depends on whether or not I get the new job, and whether or not how that schedule lands for like Fridays and stuff for reviews. And other things, but that's what I have for this one. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye.